It's a way to start a day, isn't it?
It doesn't suck. The tail of the big one? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a heavy fish.
That fish is the fish that me and Rich caught. I can almost guarantee it. There you guys go. How's that feel, guys?
With 7.
With 7 fish? Definitely. It's musky. I listened to a podcast and they were talking about something different, but a season, and it felt like the Amazing Race. We're gonna try and give you guys that. And hopefully, you know, at the end of the year, we're gonna have some really cool content and it's gonna be more of what you guys want. And for now, 2024 starts right now. For now, buddy, that's it. That's the end of the fishing season for 2024.
Amazing Race, she's done.
She's done.
Yep.
I got a confession to make. Musky fishing's always been hard for me. I've always had to work harder than most people to achieve success, and in 2024 it was ultra hard. We started the season with high expectations. We were going in with a game plan of some of the things we wanted to accomplish, and our season started to unravel pretty much after the first weekend, and it was a struggle. It was emotionally draining at times. It was physically draining because we were trying. It's not like we weren't trying, but our first day out, we caught a fish on a really cool lure, which was fun. It felt like, okay, we're back in the driver's seat. We can make this work. And then the next couple trips out, it just became obvious that this was not going to be easy. This was going to be something different, something we weren't used to. And as we got into the season, we did a video where it was the slump buster, and Matt got a fish on Eagle Lake, and it seemed like that started to turn things around for us. And I thought, okay, we're on the right path, but it's still those trips where you go out and you're just struggling. They wear on you, and we've been spoiled the last few years on having really good success. So for it to be that tough out of the gate, it was a hard pill to swallow. I want to back up a little bit to March of 2024, and we went down to the Minnesota Musky show. It was great seeing, old friends, meeting some new ones, finally getting to meet Kyle Fregis, who's become a really good friend of mine and a friend of the channel. That was great, and it was nice to run into so many people from our community and hear all the encouraging, words and stories. That was really cool. But Dave and I felt that by 1-2 o'clock on Saturday, we'd kind of seen it all, and it just felt self-serving to stay there, hoping to talk to people and get pats on the back. That's not really why we do this. So we left early, and on the way home, we had a good discussion about where our season was going to lead us and what we were going to do. And then fast forward a month, and we went down to the Toronto Odyssey, which I applaud them for giving us full access. That was amazing. But the whole event was different. After the fact, it kind of made sense. And it's no knock on Ryan Pickering. I think he knew going into this that he was going to resign as president of Muskies Canada. And looking back on the show, it felt disjointed. And then one of the keynote speakers had quite the event there, which is still playing out with some people. I'll just leave that at that. The whole event had this weird vibe, and it, as positive as it was, and we met some great people. We met You know, just so many different bait builders that had some trust in us. And we did do a video about that, and I kind of touched on that. But those two events kind of set the stage for the season. And Dave and I felt coming out of those two shows, things felt different. There was a different vibe in the industry, or at least we felt it. And it's not all negative, because I built up a really good friendship with Jeff Weedman from Team Rhino Outdoors, and he was kind enough to get us some of the early pit bulls before you guys in the public had it, and that turned out to be an amazing bait for us. So there was some really cool positives from it, and I love seeing all the, you know, the owners and manufacturers of these baits. So don't take it as all negative, because there is a lot of positives. But when we fast forward into July, we still had this feeling that it felt different. There was this weird vibe around the industry that we were feeling, and you could see it through social media. People were struggling on the water, and that doesn't have anything to do with the drama behind the scenes. But when you're not thinking positive and you don't put everything into it, and you have these things in your head that there's drama behind the scenes, and that drama plays out just all the time on social media, it's hard to get away from that. Dave and I are usually pretty good at it, but this year, those negative comments really seemed to stick with me, and I had a hard time separating those one or two negative comments from the hundreds of positives. For me, it's never been only about musky fishing. And this year, I think I really started to see that personally more and more. And I can't remember who the company was that made the video called The Cult. I think it's called Fish Camp. And in there, and it was such a well done video, it tells the struggles of being a musky angler, like almost no video. So great video. But Doug Wagner was in there, and he talks about his passion for musky fishing, and I have a ton of respect for him. But when he says musky fishing is the only thing that keeps me going, and without musky fishing, I don't know what I'd live for. And when I heard that, and again, it's not a knock on Doug, he's at a different point in his life than I am. I have 3 kids, I have a family, I have a job away from this, and that changes our perspective. Dave and I get up every morning, we put on our work boots and we go to work, and we got to get up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30 to go to work. I'm not complaining. That's our life away from this. And when I hear people talk about their passions and that this is the only thing that drives them, it's just not me, guys. I have, 2 girls here, and I have an older daughter that I've kind of lost touch with a little bit because of musky fishing and putting so much in. She's away at university now, but the last couple of years putting so much into this has had me drift away from her. I haven't spent enough time with my wife, with my parents who are both mid-70s. There's different things in my life that are important to me, and I'm very fortunate my kids come out, fish with me, but the negative comments about, I don't want to watch Daddy Daycare on your channel, well, I don't know what to tell you. And we've went through this before on a video, but these are the things that I feel coming out of a musky season. And I have to put it in perspective, and I have to balance it. And Dave and I, we do a pretty good job of just keeping the musky fishing as our stress dump, but it's real easy to get caught up in it, and I know I do. Dave's girlfriend, Ange, is like, you have to make sure, talking to me, that I don't let musky fishing become a job, because then I won't like it. And there's times this year where through all of the drama, I was ready to quit. I was ready to just hang the rods up. And Dave and I always make the joke that we could leave the industry full stop and it wouldn't bother us, we would still go fishing on the third Saturday in June. We just wouldn't have to do it for anybody. And that's not to say that that's how we feel, but there's the reality of it is that we were fishing long before we got involved in YouTube and the muskie industry, and we'll go muskie fishing long after we stop. But it's giving me time to reflect, and I want to be, more present in my kid's life. We were just at one of my girls, Kenzie's swim meet, and she did so well in her first official swim meet. I want to be there for those kind of things, and I don't want to let muskie fishing become the only thing in my life that I live for. And when I hear guys say that, and there's so many guides down through the Midwest and all through the muskie range that they leave their families in the summer and they go stay at another lake so they can guide every day. And again, I appreciate what guides do, but it's not me. I can't do that. I can't put every ounce of myself into chasing these fish. I need to be conscious of, what I do with my time, and muskie fishing just isn't everything for me. We put so much into our content and what we do and trying to provide value for all these companies that support us, but it can't be everything. And the end of every year, I go through this where I decompress. I tell Dave and Kyla, I'm like, I think I'm done. And then time kind of heals all wounds and we come back stronger than ever. But this year really hit hard with the struggles we faced on the water and the amount of time we put in versus the success. And it's tough at times to balance that out. And those are the things that you deal with behind the scenes that our community doesn't see. Dave and I, when we knew things weren't going quite according to plan, and we kind of did a pivot and we were, let's get back to the basics. Let's go to the water we know. Let's do the stuff that we know. That kind of changed our season. We went up to Cedar, visited our friends Wade and Tracy at Cedar Lake Lodge, and that whole day, there's kind of this shift in our mindset for the rest of the season. Things just started working. We were using familiar lures on familiar water, and it felt like it took this weight off our shoulders. Dave jumped in the water on the release on that 47.5-inch fish. It was fun again. It was just two guys having fun. It wasn't about this. It wasn't about trying to make content for anybody. It was just about having fun. And the next few trips out, we had fun. We went to another lake and Dave caught a nice fish. I repaid the favor. I jumped in the water, got that cool release shot, and we got back to just being Glenn and Dave. And it felt so liberating to just be ourselves again and get away from the drama of what goes on all the time, because I needed to push that aside. And I had a couple guys from Winnipeg, they're welders by trade, John and Chad, come out, and we just had such a fun day. They're such cool guys, and I've stayed in touch with them. John came down with his wife and we went fishing a little bit later in the year, and it's meeting guys like that they just pick you up again, because it's fun. And my buddy Tony and Carl, they came up, we went fishing, we had a good time, my buddy Mike, and it's about connecting with friends and having fun, and taking the job out of it. So it was something that really changed our mindset, and then just getting back again to the basics and trying to tune out all the noise around us. And you could see and hear it through all the podcasts over the summer, how tough things were being on the water. So many guys talking about what the reasoning could be. The forward-facing sonar debate seemed to be front and center a lot. I do think now at the end of the year that has maybe died off a little bit. It's something I want to touch on over the winter in the podcast lives that we do, because I think we need to be conscious of where people are coming into the sport, because when I first got into muskie fishing, all I seen in Musky Hunter magazine was side imaging was this new amazing tool, and I didn't have it, and it felt like those people in Minnesota fishing those big sand flats, seeing these fish way out in open water, that was an unfair advantage. That side imaging was forward-facing sonar today to me back in the late 2000s. And I just think that we always have to look at where people are coming into the sport. The people that are coming in today have never fished without forward-facing sonar, so it's not fair to always blame people. And it's the same with the video style. I get a little bit of pushback that I don't do the head cam or the chest cam and give you guys that right in your face view. Sometimes we put up gunnel cams, and in my old boat we always had that midship camera, so you got the cool figure eights. But guys like Ben Stone, they get that ultra cool figure eight action, which is amazing. But for me, there's no context to what's going on in that figure eight. I want to see his body position. I want to see how he's moving in the boat, what he's doing. So we always made that conscious, decision to film it kind of third person. And yeah, I get the pushback. And again, I'm a little bit older. I didn't come in from the gaming perspective, and a lot of guys that are into gaming like that first person shooter view, so the head cam or the chest cam, and that's just not something that we like. So I don't do it. And like my buddy Kyle will tell you straight up, he's like, you get so much better audio, and that point of view gives you that cool boat side action. And I totally get it. We missed some cool boat side action, but we were never truly about that. We wanted to be different and not copy what was out there. The fall really brought back the joy in fishing for us. Because we had access to suckers, we knew it was going to be a return to our style of fishing. And we caught a lot of fish. We're not complaining. We averaged 3 fish every time out, which was great. Caught some really nice fish. But our numbers were not where we historically would be. And that's okay. We were fine with that. We were having a really good time. And we got back to what it is that we do best, our style. And we've never really been big on comparing ourselves. We know we're not the Eagle Lake guides. We know we're not those 1%ers. We are who we are, and if we do what we do, the right people will come and be part of our community, and we appreciate all of that. But it was hard looking back on the season as we got close to the end of the fall, and we wanted to do things different during the year, and the weather, the fishing was tough, so we couldn't do the things we wanted to do and still give compelling content. And life got in the way. There's no other way of putting it. We didn't have the amount of time that we wanted, and that's okay. We look back on it now as we wrap up our season that it was what it was, and we're comfortable with that. So we'll look back on this season as one that was definitely trying. We persevered. My buddy Kyle said you guys were resilient and a little bit hard-headed, and that's probably true. Dave and I are pretty resilient when it comes to musky fishing. We don't usually let the negative things get us too bad. There's always a sense of we have to provide value for you guys, our community, as well as the companies that sponsor us. So I always feel that we need to give more than we ever get from them. And I feel like we do a good job of that. The industry model right now of pro staff, or every single person that's fishing is a pro staff for some company, to me it seems like it's kind of watered it down a little bit. It doesn't mean what it used to. And I'm not saying that I used to have pro staff back in the day, because I didn't. I just feel that too many people are looking for something free in return for such little value that they offer. And there's so many YouTube channels right now in fishing and the outdoors. There's so many musky related channels and content through social media that everybody's got an avenue to promote. So I get that. I feel that there's so many people that are just chasing this free thing or this title of pro staff. And I'll be honest, I wanted that. I really wanted that early on. 10 years in, I'm just at a different point in my life, and those titles don't mean as much to me. I look back on it and feel like Dave and I, we didn't get into this to try and be the best. We just got into it to try and be different. And I think we've done that. We've shown the viewers and the industry that two truck drivers from Northwestern Ontario, as well as my wife, Richard and Kendra, and Ange, can do something the way we do it without using the terms authentic or real. This is just who we are. This is how we fish. When you see us on video, that's the way we are in real life. And we just try to show that. And we are able to achieve so much and get the support of so many great companies. So I'll always look back on that and feel pretty proud that we were able to do that. And where the journey goes from here, I don't really know. I know for myself, I need time to sit back, reflect. I do have things that we want to do yet with the channel, and there's going to be some videos coming out over the course of the winter that are going to touch on some subjects that were some of the most asked questions this year. And one was, what happened to the Dadson blade with no name? And I have to tell that story from my perspective, and we will. Destroyed my Dadson.
What you got there, Glenn?
I got me a blade with no name.
Shocker.
Another story that I think deserves to be told is we get so many lures from so many people, and we appreciate every single builder, company that puts trust in us, that will give them some content to promote or provide value for them. But we don't catch on every single lure, and that's struggling for us, because we feel like if somebody gives us something, we have to give back. And there was some lures this year that caught all over the Musky range that we just could not get hooked up on. And it's not that we didn't try, because we put a lot of time into some of them. So I want to talk about that in a video on why it is some lures just don't work for some people. That's where I want to be, right up there. Right up in the cookie jar. One of the other things that I think when I look back on some of the footage we haven't used, Richie and I stumbled upon this really cool pattern with the red October tube, and Richie and I talked about it a few weeks ago. We may not show this video this winter. We may explore this pattern into next year to see if it really kind of proves itself, but there's a compelling story there. And Dave and I had his dad out fishing during this past summer, and he caught with us, and it was a smaller fish, but that just didn't change the smile on our faces. And it's something that I want to look at in a longer form video about getting our parents out. And my dad's not into fishing much anymore. He'll do a fly out with his friends, but he's never been musky fishing. I didn't get him out this year. Maybe next year I can get him out on a trolling trip or something. But my father-in-law, Harry, has been out with us over the years, and I appreciate that. That's something we want to look at in depth, is what it means to be out there with family members and how that...
Good job, Harry.
Yeah.
First one on
how that relates to
pedigree.
what it is that we do on a broader sense. When I look back on this season 5, 10, 15 years from now, and I look at some of our videos, I'll feel really proud that I think we've taken our storytelling to another level. We've been able to share our experiences with you guys in a way that, like I said earlier, it's just different. I'm never gonna be one of the top musky anglers in North America, and I'm okay with that. But we're different, and we show our perspective on what we do, and I can look back on that in the future and feel really, really proud of what we've accomplished. And I got a confession to make. I don't know if I'll be back next year. Dave and I started this with no real expectations, and we've exceeded every expectation we could have ever put in front of ourselves. We've done more than I ever thought we could in the industry. We really have nothing left to prove to ourselves or to anybody else. We're just a couple truck drivers, and we were hanging with some of the best musky related content the past couple years, at least I feel like in my eyes. We've met so many great people, but there comes a time where I need to sit back and think, can I physically and emotionally put myself through the stresses of the dreaded musky drama, or do we tune that out, or do we try to keep pushing that positive message? Because I want positive change in the industry. I want the industry to be a place where my kids can get into and not feel like if they catch a 38-inch fish, it's not worth posting. I want my kids to feel like if they come out with us and my daughter catches one that we see on forward facing sonar, that she's not going to get ridiculed by some of the most famous guides in North America. And I hate that stuff. I hate that we as an industry make people feel so inferior when they post a picture of a fish or they tell a story. I don't know that I want to be part of that anymore. I'm spent. I'm drained emotionally from this year. I'm physically wiped out from fishing as hard as we did this year. And I need time to reflect on all of it and decide what we're gonna do. And like I said here, guys, we have some stuff coming out for you. This isn't goodbye. It's kind of goodbye for now, and some of this stuff will roll out over the course of the winter, but I don't know if I can do this anymore.